Welcome to How to Become a Production SQL Database Administrator. My name is Raphael. In this short, kind of a simple tutorial, I'm going to show you how to migrate data from one instance to another. This is going to be important in the upcoming video, so I thought I'd introduce it now. So as you can see on the left-hand side in the Object Explorer, I have two instances of SQL running. This one you're familiar with because if you look at the databases, this is where the SQL2 database resides. And if I expand the table, you'll see the people's table that has over 100 million rows. And you can see when I did a select count from people, it took 3.5 minutes just to get the result set for 100 million rows. So I'm not going to do that, but that's how it is. So the question now becomes, how do I import all or partial data from the source database, which is SQL, and a different instance to another server? And here you'll see I have a separate instance, and while this instance is on the same physical box, obviously you can consider this either on the same box or on a separate box for our demonstration purposes. If I expand the databases, I don't have any databases right now. So the import-export wizard allows me to do that. So the question is, I can do two things now. How do I import either all the data from SQL2 to a new destination if I need to do, for example, testing, or how can I do a partial? And I'll show you both in a second. So let's begin by doing the importing of a table. Now, I'm not going to use the people table as 100 million rows, but I'm going to use the people 2 that has less. So how do you migrate data from the source destination? From the source to the destination. And the way you do that is you right-click on the database, go to Tasks, and here you'll see Import and Export. Since I'm pushing the data from the source to the destination, I'm going to export. Now this export wizard welcome sign will come in and go Next. Here it allows you to choose the source destination, and obviously ours is SQL. So from the drop-down list, and go SQL provider. Now obviously it'll automatically connect to the source database, and this is our source instance and source database, and go Next. Here it's asking for the destination. Now obviously again, go over here, scroll down, look at SQL. Now obviously what the server name is right here, desktop-QMOOH4U\dev. So I've already copy pasted that for easier. So I'm going to copy that and dump that here. And as soon as I do that, it allows me to select the databases. As you can see, I only have the system databases here, but if I had an existing database, I would dump it here. But for illustrative purposes, I want to create a new database. So click New and name it something. So we'll just name it SQL3. And here you can obviously determine the size of the databases. And we've gone through the previous courses how to initially size databases. But for our purposes, this is fine. So let's just go OK. And there it is. So go Next. Now here you have two options here. You can copy data from one or more tables. Here you'll get the choices of all the tables that exist in the source and all the views that exist in the source. Or you can write a specific query to transfer the data if you want to be partial data or specific data, and I'll show you that in a second. For right now, we're just going to select copy data from one table or more. So go Next. In here, as you can see, it gives you all the table and views from the source table from the SQL2 database. For our purposes, we're going to select this. As you can see, it's given the destination right here. You can see the destination dev database and the source. If you want to preview it, you can. And it'll give you, I believe, the top 200 or top 1,000 rows just to preview. And obviously, if you click on the Edit Mapping, this will allow you to configure the destination. Here, it'll allow you to create the destination table if it hasn't been created. If it does exist, then obviously you can drop and recreate if you check on this. And this enable identity insert means that you can bring over the identity seeding from the source table if you wish. But we're not going to check that. Again, you can edit the SQL statement if you wish. If you want to change any of the properties of the varchar, you want to expand it from 20 to, say, 50, you can change it here. If you want to change the table name, something, you can change it here also. So for our purposes, it's fine. We're going to go cancel and go OK. And then obviously you look at the various mappings that's going to happen from the source to the destination. Once we're comfortable with everything's fine, we're going to go next. Here you have options of running it immediately and what's called saving it into an SSI package, which stands for SQL Server Integration Services. I'm going to have an entire course dedicated to SSS packages, and so this is a kind of a preview to that, but I'm going to leave that unchecked for our purposes. Go next, and now we'll give you a summary of what we're going to be doing. And if we're comfortable with what we're going to be doing, we've got this source, we've got the destination, and that's fine. So we're going to go finish. And now we'll go through the process, and there's 1,000 rows there, and go close. So now if I go to the destination, the dev database, and go to database and refresh, I should have that database called SQL3. And if I expand that and expand the tables, then I can see that people too. So now this is an easy way of migrating data. I can certainly view it. Migrating data from one source destination to another. And as I said, this will become important to understand. But the other way to do it, obviously, is through a script. So obviously, let's go back to here. And here, in this particular case, I do want to migrate data from the people's table, but not the 100 million rows. What I want to choose is the top 500,000 rows. So I'll copy that, and I'll go through the same process. Right-click, tasks, export, and then we've gone through this wizard before. So the only thing I'm going to do differently now is rather than, and there's a source, rather than selecting the wizard that will allow me to, let me copy this, that will allow me to just select the various tables, I'm going to actually filter the table. And let's just dump it into the same database and go next. So now this is the option that I've been speaking of. So I'm just going to copy this first, select top 500,000 from people. And now I'm going to select a query. And I go next. And obviously the SQL statement pane comes in. I just pop this there. You can parse it, which I always like to do to make sure that the script is valid, which it is. And now I'm going to go next. And obviously it's going to create a query. It's called, you can change the query name if you wish. If you don't like the word query by default, you can just say, let's just call it let's just call it 500. Can't spell. 100. So that's fine. So as you can see. And again, you can edit the mapping if you wish. You can look at the various sides, but ours is fine. And we're going to go next, next, and next. And now obviously it's going to take a little longer than that, but not too long. This is a great tool to actually migrate data relatively easily and quickly. And as you can see, it's migrated fairly fast. And again, if I go to the destination, expand SQL, tables, and refresh it, you'll see that the 500 has been created. And again, I can query against this database here. So this is the quick way of migrating data from one source to another, whether it be on the same physical box with a separate instance, or obviously a totally different box. This is the way you would migrate data using the import-export wizard. Now, obviously, this is a relatively easy thing to do, but you'll be surprised how often you'll be using this kind of utility. Again, in the production world, you'll be using SSI packages to migrate data from source to destination. But this will give you a quick introduction as to if we want to just look at testing environments of how to migrate data from source to destination. And this is a quick way of doing it. So I'll just leave it there and we'll pick up in the next session. So my name is Raphael, and this is how to become a production SQL database administrator. See you in the next video.